Hello, everyone, and welcome to Azam Shah Weekly. Now, one of the very common questions people email me or ask me on Twitter is if they want to become a developer, if they want to be a software engineer, software developer, do you have to go to a 4-year university and get your degree in computer science? And that's a very interesting and a very difficult question to answer, right? So here's my take on it, completely unscripted take. If you are going to college, university, 4-year college for computer science, that is great. Congratulations. Make sure that when you complete the university, complete the college, you are not in debt. Meaning you don't owe $80,000, $75,000, or $100,000. If you think that you're going to go to college, you have to take out a loan of $100,000 to go to and get your 4 years in computer science, then possibly it's not a good idea. All right. Probably you should either do self-learning. There are some other options. You can do like just by self-learning, by watching videos and, YouTube channels and reading books and answering and asking questions on forums. You can also go to a less expensive software coding bootcamp. Now, a disclaimer over here is that I actually work for a bootcamp. So that's a disclaimer I have to tell you. And software development or software coding bootcamp is going to be 16 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks. And it's not going to cost you $100,000, $80,000, $75,000. It may cost you $15,000 or $20,000 or $14,000 or $10,000. All right. And it's going to be like 4 to 6 months. Now, it is interesting because when I went to college, I went to a 4-year university and I did graduated in computer science degree. That was my major. One thing that I personally experience is that I do not use even 0.0000000000001% of the things that I've learned in college. All right. So let's first talk about the first 1.5 to 2 years in college. Those you will be doing basic computer science, really basic stuff, or you will be doing, your calculus 1, calculus 2, calculus 3, English 1, English 2, government 1, government 2, history 1, history 2, arts, history, Western civilization. Maybe you have to take Arabic also as a language. Then you have physics and chemistry and all that stuff. So nothing to do with computer science. Astronomy, geology, all right, all of those things. You have to fill out those hours, right? And then in the last 2 years or 1.5 years, you will learn about computer science. Now, the things that I learned in computer science, I went to a university to do computer science. They were obviously more theoretical things. Now, we did have a database class, but we never really did any database. Like we never saw the tables, the data, the foreign key, the primary keys, normalization, nothing. It was more like of equations. I mean, it was just equations, A, B, A, B, B, A, B, and that was our database class. So when I do it in the real world, I don't even remember all of that stuff and what that was meant to be. All right. So 0% of what I used or what I learned in my database class, I use in my daily life. Other classes I took were assembly language. That was okay, but obviously I don't really use assembly language anymore or ever. I think for me it was a little bit different when I went to university because, first of all, I had to go to a university because I was an international student. That was the only way for me. So unlike maybe you, I don't really have a choice. I had to go to the university. And one of the key things that I did, which allowed me to move forward much quickly, is as soon as the summer comes, like, June, July, and August, and whatever, I never took any classes in summer months because I couldn't afford any classes. And I would just work like crazy. And during the work, I would read books about things that I wanted to do. So I would read a very thick, like 1,000-page book on .NET development, ASP.NET, and C#. And one time my boss came and she was like, Azam, I thought your school is over. What are you reading now? And I told her, well, the school is over. Now the real education begins. And that is what helped me to get multiple job offers right after I graduated. It was nothing related to the university. Now you might say, what about data structures? What about data structures? What about linked list? Well, I learned arrays and dictionaries, loops, conditions, and all those things in the books, from experimentation. I mean, you don't really have to spend $60,000 to $80,000 to go to a school and learn about data structures. And if you're thinking that by data structure you mean like linked list and binary search and quick sort, I mean, you can read about it, but from your point of view, if you're a developer, how many times have you actually wrote an algorithm like bubble sort or quick sort or inverted a binary tree at your job? You have to be honest. You have to be very honest over here, right? Probably 0 times. 0 times you have done that, right? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, the school, when you go to the university, it's very theoretical. And some people will even say, well, it's more about forming the basis. For me, it was not forming the basis because it formed all the wrong basis for me. So I learned pretty much all the wrong stuff in school, meaning, hey, you have to write comment for every single line of code that you do. Oh, the more code you have, that's actually really good. So make sure you write more code to solve a problem. This is the stuff that I had to unlearn when I graduated. All right. Apart from that, the other classes I took, I mean, that had nothing to do with anything. There was like a scientist and society class, which I don't even know what that was. There was an algorithm class, but that was more of a theoretical stuff. There were no assignments. There was no bubble sort, binary sort, anything like that. So where did I learn about that binary sort, bubble sort? I just Googled it and learned these things on my own. So in school, it was more of a theory rather than actually writing the code. Now, I know that people who went to school like long time ago, they might credit 100% their success to the school. I pretty much say 0% of influence school has actually made in my real world, in my real job. All right. And this is true, and I see this every single time because now I teach. I teach at a boot camp as a instructor. And most of the people, or pretty much all of the people who come over here into our class, are from college, but not from CS background, and they are able to find jobs that are in computer science development. So I had people, one of my students are working in JP Morgan Chase, LinkedIn, Chick-fil-A, Apple, even Apple. One of my students is working at Apple. That's kind of crazy, right? And none of these students have a computer science background, computer science degree, and anything like that. Now, having said all of those different things, if you have the money, maybe your sweet old grandmother has given you $80,000, definitely go to college. Go ahead, enjoy college, and get your degree in computer science if that's what you want. If you don't have the money, I do not want you to go in $80,000 debt or student loans. That's a trap to get a degree. Computer science is one of those fields where you can get a job without a degree. I know many, many, many people that have a great job without a computer science degree. All of these big companies, Google, you have Twitter, you have Apple, you have Amazon, they don't really give a crap about your degree. They just want to know, can you do the work? You can do the work, come on in. Now, there will be some companies where the degree will be requirement. All right. If you go to a government institution to work over there, possibly they will ask you for the degree. If you want to become an instructor at a boot camp or maybe a university, they will ask you for your degree. Well, in a university, they will ask you for your PhD degree, right? But you also need to make sure that you understand that that's a small set of jobs that require a degree, and there is another set of jobs that do not require a degree. So the whole point that I'm trying to make is that if you can afford going to college without going in debt, go ahead and do it. That may, you may get money from your parents, from anyone else, or you may have to work really hard on weekends, on weekdays, and crazy amount of hours in summer to make sure that you don't end up with any debt. If you can do those things, then sure, you can go to college, you should go to college and check out a computer science. By the way, for the first 2 years of college, go to community college, for God's sake. Don't spend insane amount of money throwing away on these courses like government and history. Community college is as good as the other college. They have great instructors, and you can do your 2 years in the community college, please. All right. So the final decision is obviously up to you. Computer science, I believe, is one of those fields where a degree is not a requirement in many jobs. If you want to get a degree, that's perfectly fine. I had to because I had to. I mean, I was an international student. I didn't really have any choice. But you have a lot of choices. Self-learning, watching, channels like Udemy videos, YouTube channels, courses. This does require a lot of dedication. If you are just alone or even mostly alone or with a friend, it requires a lot of dedication, consistency, persistence to do these kind of things. And to be really honest, most of the people, they just give up. But if you're one of those people who are saying, I want to learn how to develop, then you can, just by reading books, just by watching videos. All right. Now, you're not going to become like, oh, I know everything about object-oriented programming, and I know everything about data structures. You will learn those things. That's okay. I mean, if you can build applications like after even a couple of months, you're already ahead of college students, because for the first 2 years, they don't even touch computer science stuff. I mean, barely touch computer science stuff, all right? So that will be a big difference. You can always go to boot camps. Boot camps are very fast paced, so you have to be careful, because you will be working 60 hours, 70 hours a week, because they are very fast paced. All right. So if you are not one of those people who are like, or you're one of those people who are just, hey, give me the answer, maybe the boot camps are not for you, because they're fast paced. You have to do a lot of research, and you have to do a lot of investigating. So this is my opinion on college. If I had a choice to go back in time, and if it was not mandatory for me to go to college, I would probably go to a boot camp to cut down the time from 4 years to, 4 months, and cut down the cost from whatever the cost was, $60,000, $50,000 to $10,000. I would do that. I've been to many different interviews in my life, and none of them have ever asked me for a degree. Maybe one, all right, because it was for a teaching job. But most of the jobs, they have not asked me for any college degree. So they just ask you, hey, can you do the work? They look at your resume, they look at your projects, they look at your portfolio, and they're like, okay, looks like this person knows the job. All right. So that is my take on computer science and whether it is required for you to go to a 4-year degree to become a developer or not. What do you think? And share your experience.